Hello and welcome to the first of our Boundless Motoring Q&A videos. I'm Dan Reed, Motoring Editor for Boundless magazine, and I'm here to answer all of your automotive questions. So if there's something you'd like to ask, please get in touch with me and I'll do everything I can to help. It could be anything: advice on buying new cars, second-hand cars, electric vehicles, or maybe even some inspiration for future road trip destinations. Unfortunately, road trips are almost impossible at the moment, but that brings me to our subject this week, and that's motoring during lockdown, as well as some things to think about as we return to our roads in the coming weeks and months. So our first question comes from Alan, who asks, at the moment I'm only making short journeys to and from the shops. Is this enough to keep my car's battery charged and topped up? If not, what can I do to keep it charged while the car's being used less? Well, Alan, the simplest thing to do is just to run your engine at idle for about 20 minutes once every week or so. That should do the job, and that's what's being recommended by a lot of car manufacturers at the moment. Obviously, for more information about your car, it's worth checking out the car maker's social media feeds and website for more specific information. Another option, if you have a driveway or a garage with access to power, is to connect your battery to a trickle charger. This just supplies a very small current constantly to the battery to keep it charged, topped up and in good condition. There's no need to remove your battery in most cases from the car. It just connects to the terminals like jump leads would, really. Sometimes your battery will have gone completely flat. It might be old and therefore you will need a new one. This is probably more likely in older cars and easier to do with older cars. You can still buy batteries online at places like Halfords. You might have a local garage who can still supply one, or perhaps even fit it if social distancing rules apply, and we'll move on to that later. It is harder to fit a battery to newer, more complex cars, but for most people it's quite achievable, especially with a slightly older vehicle. The RAC has a great guide on its website for how to fit a new battery, so it's worth checking that out as well. While we're on the subject, there are several other things you could be doing to keep your car in tip-top condition while it's being used less. The easiest thing is just to wash it once a week. Dust and bird mess can really play havoc with your paintwork, so best to remove that. You can also inflate your tyres to the maximum recommended pressure. This helps to prevent flat spots and other deformations occurring. If you're driving to the shops once a week or every few days, this won't be a problem because your car's being moved. Of course, still keep your tyre pressures topped up. If it really is parked for long periods of time, you can just roll your car backwards and forwards every couple of days or once a week, just to help stop those deformations and flat spots from occurring. Fill up with fuel. Empty fuel tanks or low fuel tanks have more air inside, which can cause issues such as mold developing and other chemical reactions. As an added bonus, of course, fuel is at pretty low prices at the moment, so that's worth filling up while you can. Finally, if you have a manual handbrake in your car, leave it off and keep the car in gear instead. That will stop the handbrake from sticking. If you have an automatic car, leave it in park. And if you have an electric handbrake, it's best to check your owner's manual to figure out how to prevent it from engaging. Our next question comes from Nigel, who asks, what should I do if my MOT is due? Well, Nigel, the government has announced a 6-month extension to all MOT renewals due after the 31st of March of this year. So in other words, you have 6 months from your MOT's due date to get it renewed. This works on a rolling basis, so if your MOT was due in April, you have until October to renew it. Currently, this scheme will remain in operation until March 2021. However, you will still need to pay road tax, and to do this, you'll need a valid MOT. But don't worry, because the DVSA says that your MOT's due date will be automatically adjusted and updated in its online system, so you can still apply for your road tax online. If, however, you find that your MOT due date hasn't been extended online, there is a special email address you can get in touch with, and that is covid19mot@dvsa.gov.uk. Of course, it goes without saying that your car must still be kept in a roadworthy condition, and drivers can still be fined for driving unsafe vehicles. Our next question comes from Beverley, who asks, what should I do if my car is due a service? Well, if it's just for short journeys, then I wouldn't worry too much, as long as you follow the car care advice I mentioned earlier. However, if you do need to use your car more regularly, or if there's some urgent work that needs doing, don't panic, because some garages are still open for repair. They tend to be prioritising key workers and vulnerable customers with other urgent mobility needs. Some main dealerships are beginning to reintroduce servicing, but on a limited basis, often for pre-existing bookings or the most urgent work. Obviously, the situation is changing all the time and different garages have different policies, so call yours to find out the situation. Most garages and dealerships also have a dedicated COVID-19 advice page on their website, so it's worth having a look at that first. If you are planning to take your car to a garage for servicing or for an MOT test, definitely discuss and agree the protocols with the garage for social distancing to make sure that you and the staff are safe. If you're in a higher risk group, consider asking somebody else to take the car there for you and to bring it back again, or even better, find a mobile mechanic or MOT provider who can come to you. Finally, consider how to clean and disinfect your car after work is complete. Garages should have a system in place for this, but there is a great guide on the RAC website if you're worried about how to do it. On to our next question, which comes from Stuart, who asks, my driving licence is about to expire. Is the DVLA still processing applications and renewals? The short answer is yes, they are, but the best advice is to apply as soon as possible. The DVLA says it's currently taking 3 to 4 weeks longer to process applications than normal, and is obviously prioritising key workers and HGV drivers. There are even longer delays, unfortunately, for people declaring certain medical conditions on their licence, as the NHS staff who would ordinarily help with those applications are understandably tied up elsewhere. The same goes for over 70s or anyone requiring eyesight tests for their licence, as opticians are either closed or offering very limited services. So again, apply as soon as you possibly can. In most cases, you will still be able to drive while your application is being processed, provided your licence is still in date and that you've not been told by your doctor or optician that you shouldn't drive for any reason. Obviously, just use your common sense and check out the DVLA's Twitter feed and website, which is constantly being updated with the latest information and advice. That's it for this week. I'll be back again for another round of questions next week. So remember, if there's anything you'd like to ask, please get in touch with me on the Boundless Twitter and Facebook pages, or by emailing the address on your screen now. As I said before, it could be anything. It's new or used car buying advice, a question about electric vehicles, or really anything to do with life on the road. Thanks for watching.